Buongiorno! Welcome to Healthy Tween Cuisine. I'm Savannah, and today I'm going to show you how to make an Italian classic that all Americans love too. Spaghetti and the meat sauce. Yes, spaghetti and meat sauce. So whether you want to get fit or maintain a healthy lifestyle, I'll show you how to do that without sacrificing any flavor. The ingredients you will need are some 97.3 ground beef, some pasta sauce, tomato paste, thin whole wheat spaghetti, diced onion, garlic, kosher salt, and extra virgin olive oil. Okay, as always, we're going to wash our hands first before touching or preparing any food. Make sure your water is nice and hot so it'll kill all the germs. And you want to wash your hands for about 20 seconds with lots of soap. Since I want you to learn something new in every one of my videos, I'm going to teach you about garlic today. Now, this is called a head of garlic, and inside, these are the cloves right here. See, this is a clove of garlic. Now, this is called elephant garlic, and it's about twice the size of normal garlic, but it's a lot more mild, so you can use more of it. Now, with your garlic, you take a clove off of the head, and then it has a papery skin on it. So what you want to do is just whack it with your hand to take that skin off. There you go. And then what you do is, I like to cut the ends of the garlic off. And since this is so big, I'm going to cut it in half. And you lay it on its flat side, like this. And you do it just like I showed you how to do the onion in my guacamole video. You make even lines across the garlic like this. Make sure your fingers are tucked in so you don't have any disasters. And then you run across just like this. And then you just want to go straight down and make fairly small slices. And when you reach the end, just kind of repeat that. Now I'm going to do what's called a rough chop, and that's when you just kind of roughly go through whatever you're chopping to just make sure they're all relatively the same size. Now I'm going to show you a little tip on browning your meat. What you want to do, instead of dumping one big lump of hamburger into your pan and then struggling to break it apart, I'm going to show you how to pre-score your meat so it'll brown quicker and break apart easier. So what you do is you just take your knife and you go straight through the hamburger, just like this. And you want to make sure it's about in 1-inch sections. Once you have it done that way, you just want to do the same thing the other way to make it into little cubes. Just like that. Now I'm going to put my meat in the pan. Today I'm using a Le Creuset pot, but if you don't have one of these, you can just use a regular skillet or anything you have handy in your house. I have my pan on medium-high heat, and I've put some olive oil in there to prevent sticking. So you dump that in there, and you want to hear the sizzle. And you just break it apart with your wooden spoon. And see, this is where the scoring comes in handy, because you don't have to struggle to break one big lump apart. Once you have your browning process underway, we're going to add onions. Now this is just a family thing. We like the flavor of onions, but if you don't have to add it. You just put that in there and you stir it up. And I think the onions give a nice sweet flavor to your sauce, but like I said before, if you don't care for them, don't add them. Once you're well into your browning process, you want to add your garlic. Now the reason you want to add it now instead of with the onions is if you put garlic in and leave it, it will burn and get bitter and not be very pleasant to the tongue. Okay? So you put that in. Just kind of scrape it with your hands. And you want to stir it. And like I said before, make sure it doesn't burn so it won't get bitter. Even though we're using a store-bought pasta sauce, we like to use tomato paste. And that is just concentrated tomato, and that gives it a nice, deeper, richer flavor. Now this is approximately 2 ounces. And you just want to dump it in there with your ground beef and your garlic and your onions. And then you just mix that and try to get it spread out. It's kind of difficult, but try to get it spread out among the beef so you get that flavor dispersed throughout everything. Now it's time to add your pasta sauce. We're using Classico tomato and basil. And a rule of thumb is you want to use a jar of pasta sauce for every 1 pound of ground beef. So we have 1.5 pounds of ground beef, so that means we'll probably use about 1.5 jars. So you just pour that in there. Get your other jar. And like I said, you only want to pour about half of this in. And like I said, you want to remember, since I have 1.5 pounds of beef, I only used 1.5 jars of sauce. But like I said, a jar of sauce to every 1 pound of meat. So now we're going to stir that in. You want to make sure it's evenly mixed. Make sure your pot. So now that we've added our pasta sauce into our ground beef, I've reduced my heat to low, and I'm going to put the lid on. And you want this to simmer for 30 minutes. Now, I only have 30 minutes right now, but to get a better flavor, you would probably want to simmer it for about an hour. Now, today, we chose to use a store-bought pasta sauce to save time and energy, because just like another one of my favorites, Sandra Lee says, there's nothing wrong with using store-bought ingredients when you also have fresh. Now, just make sure you read your label to make sure you're not getting a pasta sauce full of calories and fat grams. And you also want to choose your favorite flavor. Like today, we chose tomato and basil, but I know they also make garlic and herb, or Parmesan, all sorts of different flavors for you to choose from. Just choose your favorite and read your label.